Today, I was bequeathed the full history of the Zemo lineage by my father Hermann, the 11th Baron Zemo, as he lay upon his deathbed. The sorrow of his passing is quite nearly eclipsed by the joy and pride I feel in learning the truth of the glory inherent in our illustrious bloodline. Of course, I was familiar with the legends of the first Baron Zemo, how in 1480 Harbin Zemo stood alone against an invading horde. Armed solely with a sword, he slew them all. He was elevated to nobility as a reward, but greatness was already in his blood. And today, I have learned the true reason he constructed Castle Zemo so far into the remote mountain peaks. I had always assumed the isolated mountainous location of Castle Zemo to be strategic, the better to defend against attacks from invaders or unruly peasants. And no doubt those were considerations, but it seems my ancestor was motivated by a desire to investigate legends of something buried under these mountains, something unimaginably powerful, something referred to in half-remembered tales only as the Sleeper. Harbin Zemo began excavating beneath this castle even as it was constructed. Simultaneously, he oversaw the architectural innovations that, even then, reflected the brilliance of our line. But he would not live to see his quest reach fruition. That honor fell to the third Baron, Hela Zemo. It was he who found the Sleeper. But the journey was not ended. It was only beginning. It appears the massive size of the Sleeper, along with its highly advanced technology, confounded Hela Zemo. He could not determine how to fully excavate the Sleeper without undermining and collapsing the mountain itself. But like all of our line, he would not accept defeat. He began analyzing the Sleeper's makeup in search of a solution to its own confinement. Many secrets were unlocked by careful examination of the Sleeper's technology. These, along with our meticulously bred genius, of course, enabled numerous advancements by subsequent Barons Zemo. Innovations that allowed excavation to proceed, albeit slowly. But it is I, the 12th and greatest of us all, who will finally achieve the victory denied my ancestors. It is I who will at last wake the Sleeper. What are the Sleeper's origins? Does it hail from the stars, from a distant future or some antediluvian past? Is it an artifact of long-forgotten gods? These questions are intriguing, but secondary to the matter of how the Sleeper will affect the future. The past. What are the Sleeper's origins? Does it hail from the stars, from a distant future or some antediluvian past? Is it an artifact of long-forgotten gods? These questions are intriguing, but secondary to the matter of how the Sleeper will affect the future. The past has seen a proud line of Barons Zemo. But for tomorrow, I must confess, Emperor Zemo has a certain poetry to it. I feel the hands of my illustrious ancestors at work in what happened today. I have been contacted by a man who shares my vision, if not my noble heritage. He calls himself the Red Skull, an overly theatrical title to my tastes, but I must admit the resources at his disposal are impressive indeed. I have agreed to meet with him. This evening I received the Red Skull in the ballroom. I fear the splendor of the setting was wasted on the man. He appears single-minded in his focus on conquest and the acquisition of power. Still, these are desirable traits, and he clearly possesses the intelligence to recognize my importance in the success of his plans. I have agreed to future meetings. An alliance may prove mutually beneficial. The skull both impresses and repels me. I confess to admiring the skill with which he has manipulated the present political tides to his own advantage. He has acquired backing from the regime in Berlin, while using those resources to build an army loyal only to him. The Order of Hydra. This has enabled him to accomplish much. Perhaps my own reticence to tolerate the presence of my inferiors has held me back in this regard. I have granted the skull permission to house certain of his lackeys here while we go about our work. I must say, the individuals the skull surrounds himself with are distasteful in the extreme. Most of all, the loathsome scientist Arnim Zola, whose undeniable genius cannot compensate for his odious personality. I fully understand the need for pushing boundaries in order to achieve technological advancement, but there is a fine line between ambition and recklessness, a line Zola crossed long ago. My prior concerns are mollified. Today, I confronted Zola over the risks his twisted experiments pose to the splendor of my home and the treasures housed within. I informed the skull he would need to be reined in if the forces of Hydra were to continue to be tolerated in Castle Zemo. Perhaps the skull saw reason. Perhaps my own not inconsiderable army, loyal only to me, gave him pause. Regardless, I am pleased with the outcome. Zola's work suspended, the man himself assigned to research. The skull has summoned more detestable lieutenants, including one young fellow who also claims to be a baron, yet allows the skull and Zola to order him about like a common domestic. And a woman. If the baronesses who once lived here could see her mannish affectations and scandalous attire, they would faint dead away. I tolerate this duo's presence only with difficulty. Should they vex me, they will pay the price. I expected Zola to throw tantrums like the man-child he is when his experiments were halted. However, he has shown me character I did not realize he had by immersing himself in the Zemo library with unbridled zeal. The collected wisdom of my ancestors can only benefit one of his low character, even if he can never hope to fully comprehend the qualities of one born to nobility. Zola and the skull are quite taken with my family history, inquiring often about prior Barons Zemo. Like children begging for bedtime stories, they ask after the tales behind each of the treasures stored in the trophy room. I have kept to myself the indiscretions of Hilliard Zemo, 8th of our line, who foolishly harbored notions of using our resources to educate the peasantry. And yet now I understand, if not condone, his goals. One does derive satisfaction from seeing inferior minds attempt to better themselves, even when such efforts are inevitably restricted by the breeding of those undertaking them. I have consented to limited restoration of Zola's experiments, under my supervision, of course. With the benefit of the knowledge found in our ancestral library, it is my hope he can control his baser instincts. And he claims to have thoughts as to how I might improve Adhesive X, a personal project I have labored on for some time. I am prepared to hear him out, though my expectations remain realistic. I am betrayed. Even as we perfected Adhesive X, that vermin Zola orchestrated an accident. A disaster meant to kill me. But while I am scarred for the remainder of my days, Zemo does not die so easily. I have given no indication that I realize the incident was anything but a misfortune. But my revenge shall be fearsome to behold. Matters are far graver than I realized. While I lay convalescing, Zola and the Skull have been methodically eliminating those of my forces most loyal to me, while tempting the others with rewards their common minds and base natures cannot resist. The balance of power has clearly shifted to them. I am trapped in a den of spiders, and my priority must now be to escape their web. The Red Skull's plan becomes clear to me now. He knew of the Sleeper all along. He has renewed the excavation I halted when they came to stay. No doubt he will soon have fully uncovered the behemoth. I believe I am being kept alive in the event they require information. But once the Sleeper is uncovered and activated, they will seek to finish what they began. I have no fear. I am a Zemo. But I now know how little time I truly have to save the treasures of my castle and exact my vengeance. I can barely contain my rage. The forces of Hydra have fully occupied the castle and begun alterations. No, desecrations. The splendor of the ballroom is defiled. The beauty of the architecture has been corrupted, subverted to the brute force that is the hallmark of the Skull. And yet, I continue to play the oblivious, helpless invalid. My hour has not yet come, but come it will. With the aid of my few remaining loyal servants, I have begun removing treasures from Castle Zemo. These artifacts must be preserved for future generations, not crushed under the jackboots of small-minded brutes who fancy themselves conquerors. My guests do not yet seem to have noticed, but there are some items that will be more difficult to retrieve than others. Yet I must try. To leave anything behind is abhorrent to me. I can tarry no longer. Zola covets my personal quarters and grows impatient with my continued presence. I must begin preparations for my departure. If all goes well, it will be a moment these thugs will never forget. The fools have arrogantly appropriated much of my technology, rarely bothering to alter it in any way not obvious to my genius. As a result, I am able to move relatively freely within many portions of the castle. Reaching the outside will prove more difficult, due to the guards who swarm about like maggots on a corpse. A distraction shall have to be arranged to draw them away. I have it. The Red Skull fancies himself the Overman, the epitome of physical perfection. But whatever gifts he may possess, he cannot match the accumulated skill with a sword of a dozen Barons Zemo. Skills I have been taught since birth. I shall challenge him to a duel, under the guise of testing my returning health. And there, before his assembled minions, I will kill him. In the dead of night, my faith flags. Am I truly fully recovered from my injuries? Could it be possible that the Skull might actually defeat me? I must form a secondary plan in the event disaster strikes. I dare not recount the details here, lest they be discovered, but what I have in mind ensures I will know either victory or death. The day dawns. As many treasures as I have been able to retrieve are secreted in my family's safe houses throughout the world. Soon I shall join them. Yet there remain heirlooms I was unable to reach. I must find some way to rescue them, or they shall haunt my dreams. The time has come. The Skull has accepted my challenge. How could he refuse? made as it was in full view of so many of his underlings. It retained the patina of a friendly sporting contest, but all concerned know it for what it is, a duel to the death. I must make haste. My plans went awry. The skull surprised me, and I failed myself. I am still not fully recovered from my injuries, and yet I would have won nonetheless if the skull were indeed a man. But he is far more. He has augmented himself in some way I do not comprehend. I was forced to enact my secondary plan. The chaos it has unleashed may claim us all. The crisis has passed. In the face of the skull's treachery, I turned and disabled the device that controls the thermal energies beneath the castle. Energies Hydra uses to power their infernal devices. As machinery overloaded and critical mass approached, I was forgotten, while all personnel rushed to the task of preventing disaster. As a result, the guards are reduced to a skeleton crew. With my knowledge of Castle Zemo's secret places, escape is a simple task. I now take my leave of the only home my family has known for 12 generations. Yet, should the unthinkable occur, should I meet my fate, I would prefer Castle Zemo and all within it to crumble to dust rather than remain in the hands of the Skull and his thuggish ilk. Should you, who find this, be of like mind, seek the answer among the last relics of my honor, the tools with which Baron Zemo have sought satisfaction since the day Harbin Zemo stood alone against the invading savages so long ago. As I turn my back on all I hold dear, I take solace in this thought. The Skull seeks to conquer by awakening the Sleeper. Yet the Sleeper's destructive might can be turned against its wielder. And as advanced as it is, the Sleeper, as I turn my back on all I hold dear, I take solace in this thought. The Skull seeks to conquer by awakening the Sleeper. Yet the Sleeper's destructive might can be turned against its wielder. And as advanced as it is, the Sleeper has a weakness. It requires energy. Energy that must be channeled to its otherworldly brain in vast quantities. Should the conduit of that energy be severed, I believe the Sleeper and its new master, the Red Skull, will meet the fate of so many tyrants consumed by the self-same power they so greedily craved.
After years of planning and research, my time has come at last. Project Masterman is a reality. History shall record that Dr. Arnim Zola was the first to unlock the secrets of the human genome, and thus my immortality is assured. Using the blood of my benefactor, Johann Schmidt, I will replicate and surpass the work of the traitor Abraham Erskine. The Americans believe they have created a perfect human specimen in their precious super soldier. They are fools. The perfection of the human body is a false goal. What does it profit us to perfect something inherently limited? No. To truly evolve, we must improve upon it. Herr Skull has secured a remote research facility and outfitted it with Hydra forces for my protection and assistance. The Skull has also honored me with the loan of the Tesseract Cube to aid in my research. Under his supervision, of course. He will not be disappointed. I shall work tirelessly until I have unlocked Erskine's secrets and taken them to places he never imagined, or perhaps feared to tread. It is my goal, my purpose, my destiny. The obvious place to begin is with the common foot soldier. Small genetic alterations make them more resilient, but the true breakthrough is a faster synaptic response between the eye and the brain. These men are capable of acquiring a target and firing with 100% accuracy 3 times more quickly than the average human. This increase in combat speed allows for them to be outfitted with both close and long-range ballistic weaponry. Security personnel are equipped with light armor and a shotgun for close-range skirmishing. Snipers forego armor for a long-range eye-mounted scope and a high-powered semi-automatic rifle. These enhancements to conventional troop warfare represent a mere stepping stone towards far more ambitious plans. Still, one must begin somewhere. Further study of the American super soldier has led to a grand departure from my prior approach. This Captain America, as their propaganda machine calls him, approaches combat without the use of a firearm. I now understand why. The average enemy soldier is well trained in ballistics, but woefully unprepared for hand-to-hand combat. It is this weakness I shall exploit. A heavy dose of the enhancement serum leaves our subjects resilient, strong, and nearly suicidal with rage. I have outfitted them with high-powered stun batons that output 900 kilovolts with lethal amperage on contact. Protected by a compact ballistic shield, my troops can swarm entrenched enemy positions and engage in close-quarter combat. Once the distance is closed, the enemy has little chance against these deadly, unfamiliar weapons. To increase survival rates during initial swarming charges, my foot soldiers will require long-range support. With the power of the cube, I have modified the classic flamethrower to integrate a high-powered plasma output. It launches a stream of superheated plasma so powerful that it vaporizes the air around it, creating a nearly perfect beam of scorching gas. To assist in situations where targets are not within the line of sight, a rocket-propelled grenade launcher has been fitted to the weapon. For long-term use of this heavy equipment in the field, dramatic genetic strength enhancement proved necessary. The alterations have had some unexpected side effects. The subjects are prone to violent psychosis and sadistic urges. Of course, these personality flaws are of little concern in non-leadership personnel, and in combat can often be quite desirable. Our excavations of the tunnels beneath the castle create the need for demolition and removal of heavy debris. To this end, I have perfected the first successful grafting of mechanical apparatus onto the human body. Using the cube, I have developed a pneumatic jackhammer arm and attached it to heavily augmented soldiers. A targeted lobotomy removes the traditional psychotic side effects, keeping these workers calm and pliable. It also results in a total removal of any compassion, making the subjects ideal for handling prisoners. We have outfitted them with riot shields for crowd control. This mingling of flesh and machine intrigues me. Perhaps the future of evolution lies not within, but outside of fragile forms. I may revisit some of my early experiments in mechanical design, explore the possibilities further. The brain is a fascinating puzzle of evolution and biology. A puzzle I have now solved. By stimulating the brain with targeted electrical impulses, I have unlocked the fabled power of telekinesis. Direct connection of electrodes to the brain produces severe side effects, including seizures and violent vocal outbursts. I am planning a control mechanism for the helmet, but until it is perfected, I have made do with more conventional means of silencing the subjects. Further developed, the possibilities of this technology are endless. Mind control, remote projection of consciousness. Once the stuff of myth and legend, these things can be explained through science. It simply requires the proper genius to unlock the secrets. I had assumed the Skull's head of security was a pompous old fool, but he proved to be neither. To my great surprise, he approached me as a willing research subject. He became obsessed with a mechanical glove I designed. It was one of my first experiments with the use of the cube. The grafting was an expensive and irreversible process, but the outcome was successful. Regrettably, the procedure was too time-consuming for mass production. But von Strucker is training with the device, and should it make him as deadly as I suspect, I may revisit the matter. I have placed a most ambitious woman in charge of the cell blocks. Current mores dictate that women are delicate flowers, best used to breed the next generation of perfection. As a scholar, I know this to be nonsense. History is rife with accounts of female warriors, and I believe we have one here. At my suggestion, the rank of Madam Hydra has been awarded to this young lady. She declines genetic augmentation. Certain stereotypes, such as a woman's vanity, are after all true, but she has commissioned exotic ordnance from my labs. I was able to shrink the mechanisms of two fully automatic high-powered rifles to the size of a pair of pistols. Again, too costly for mass production, but when she made her request, I could not refuse. She shows a natural affinity for chemistry, specifically the use of toxins. The prisoners provide a ready source of test subjects for her imaginative research. I have given her leave to experiment as she wishes, provided they remain alive and healthy enough for my work. True, there have been accidents, but the sparkle in her eyes on these occasions, it's its own reward. Advances in armored ordnance have always been held back by the problem of mobility across difficult terrain. Inspired by the old-world decor of this castle, I hit upon a new approach, the modern knight in armor. The result is the first bipedal walking tank in history, a single-pilot, highly armored battlesuit. The recoil of conventional ballistics would affect the accuracy of this unit, so I took another approach. A cannon that fires concussive sound, deafening and disorienting. It wreaks havoc with the inner ear. With the target in agony, it is a simple matter for the pilot to close ranks and crush the opponent with brute force. To reflect the historic inspiration for this unit, I have dubbed it Iron Cross, a noble name for what will one day be a new force of knights, spreading the glory of Hydra throughout the world. The Red Skull has been a man obsessed, demanding further excavation into the castle foundation. It has become clear to me he seeks something specific. And he has found it. We have uncovered something monumental. At first, I thought it was some type of statue long buried and forgotten. But as more was revealed, I realized with mounting excitement that it was nothing so mundane. A gigantic mechanical humanoid, constructed in a forgotten age, forged from materials I cannot identify. It is inactive, sleeping in its stony prison. But with the power of the cube, I hope to wake it. Under my command, a creature such as this would dominate any conventional warfare, even alter the course of history. To this end, the Skull has authorized use of the cube, but only under his direct supervision. I eagerly await his arrival, for the hour has come round at last. Renovations of the castle complex over the past few months have proven quite fruitful. Once the site was acquired from its former owner, we began the long work of excavation and construction to bring its crumbling mass into the 20th century. We have left the bulk of the upper levels intact, relying on the original architecture to disguise our work from Allied observation planes. Beneath the surface lies the true power and purpose of the complex. We have excavated the castle's foundations, adding entire wings to the original dungeons or natural caverns. A new cell block, laboratories, transport routes, and a self-sufficient power plant provide all I need to conduct my research. With these resources, it is but a matter of time before I surpass Erskine's achievements and bring about a new era in history. I abandoned my earlier research into robotics upon discovering the difficulty of developing an adequate control system. However, marrying my research to existing technology has led to interesting additions to our defenses. Using the cube as a power source, I have succeeded in creating a rudimentary guidance system for common weapons of war. An artificial intelligence, if you will. Our anti-aircraft cannons function with simple auto-targeting systems that require only minimal supervision. Extrapolating this technology further, I have succeeded in the creation of drone artillery tanks capable of long-range shelling. With these defenses in place, I have begun experimentation on an airborne drone using horizontal rotors. If I am successful, we will own the battlefield not only on land, but in the air. Pity. If only I could devise something with the versatility of the human mind. There's no telling what I could achieve. Success! I was blind to the truth when I began, but now I comprehend the true face of evolution. I sought to copy and improve upon Erskine's work. What folly, continuing research that was flawed in its very conception. Biology is limited. There is only so much it can do. But the mind, pure consciousness, that is the key. Unfettered by the bonds of weak, decaying flesh, all limitations fall away. I could live forever, a true immortal. The power that the mind, in its purest form, could wield is truly incalculable. And yet, without a means to affect the physical world, a disembodied consciousness is little more than a ghost. I will need form, a way to continue my work. Perhaps my earlier research into robotics was not a dead end after all. It may be precisely what I need.